In April of last year, at the height of mandated shutdowns due to the pandemic, the U.S. unemployment rate was 14.7%. By December, that number was down to 6.7%. Our city stalwart tells us how, although the economy is slowly picking back up, a lot of people are still in need of work.
Alabama unemployment is one of the most popular phrases searched online in our area. So we checked in with the Huntsville Career Center to see what changes they're seeing as they're helping people find work, many for the first time during the pandemic.
The unemployment rate for Madison County has gradually come down.
We met with Mike Fowler, manager of the Huntsville Career Center with the Alabama Department of Labor. He tells us unemployment rates are improving, but they're seeing a lot of people who need help finding a job for the first time.
You know, there are folks who had been long-term employees at places that did close down or lay off. They may not have been searching for a job for years, and then all of a sudden the pandemic hits and they're out of work.
And some people can feel lost.
Everything is pretty much online now. Years ago you could, print out resumes and go around in person, and that has totally changed.
He says the center is actually seeing fewer people overall coming in the building for assistance than before the pandemic, but more people are calling in and seeking online help.
We've just averaged right around 900 people coming in per month, so really we're still averaging less than half of our normal traffic.
Fowler tells us Madison County is faring pretty well compared to other places.
A lot of it is because of the type of jobs that we have here in this area. They're not as susceptible to changes in the economy.
Mike Fowler manages the Athens and Scottsboro Career Centers too. Unemployment is higher in those areas, but he says it's coming down.
The employment outlook for Limestone County is fantastic.
To find out how to connect with the Huntsville Career Center, head on over to RocketCityNow.com. Putting the Valley first, I'm Sydney Stallworth, WZDX News.